Welcome back to our channel Hidden Coins World. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. Today, we journey into the fascinating world of the United States of America's 1989 1-cent coin, a humble penny that many overlook but one that holds mysteries, surprises, and in some rare cases, a staggering fortune. Imagine finding something in your pocket change, something so ordinary, yet so extraordinary, that it could change your life forever. That is the story of the 1989 1-cent coin, a piece of American history that continues to capture the imagination of collectors and dreamers alike. Let's travel back in time to understand the environment in which this coin was born. The year was 1989, a time of transition and change. America was witnessing the closing chapters of the Cold War. George H.W. Bush was the President of the United States, succeeding Ronald Reagan, whose leadership in the 1980s had left a strong imprint on the nation. Pop culture was booming with movies, television shows, and the rise of technology that would shape the 1990s. It was a year that stood on the brink of a new era. Amid these monumental shifts, the U.S. Mint continued its duty, producing coins that would circulate through the everyday lives of millions of Americans. Among these coins was the 1-cent piece of 1989, known as the Lincoln cent. The Lincoln cent itself had already become one of the most iconic coins in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than symbolic figures of liberty. This was a groundbreaking move in coinage history. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, who preserved the Union and abolished slavery, was chosen as the face of the penny, and his legacy has endured through this coin for well over a century. By 1989, the coin had already gone through several design evolutions, most notably the reverse design introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, the Lincoln Memorial design. This reverse, created by Frank Casparo, would stay on the penny until 2008, and it is this very design that adorned the 1989 1-cent coin. On the obverse side, Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln looked resolutely to the right, with the word "Liberty" on one side and the motto, "In God We Trust," arching above. The date, 1989, sat clearly on the right side, marking the year of minting. The reverse featured the Lincoln Memorial in sharp detail, a tribute to the Grand Monument in Washington, D.C. honoring the president. If you look closely at this reverse, you can even see the tiny outline of the seated Lincoln statue within the memorial, a fascinating detail that makes the design so iconic and remarkable for its artistry. But what makes the 1989 penny so special? After all, billions were minted. Indeed, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint struck over 7.2 billion of these coins combined, with an additional 3.2 billion from San Francisco for proof sets, making this coin seem extremely common. Most of them remain worth just 1 cent, or perhaps a few cents to collectors in uncirculated condition. Yet, the beauty of coin collecting is that rarity is not just about how many were produced. It's about how many survive in pristine condition, how many carry errors, and how many were struck under unusual circumstances. This is where the 1989 1-cent coin finds its magic. Some 1989 pennies are known for minting errors, misstrikes, off-center strikes, double dies, and other rare varieties that transform an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. For example, a double die error on the obverse, where the date or letters appear slightly doubled, can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auctions. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing due to misalignment, are also highly collectible. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchets, where a penny might accidentally be struck on a dime or foreign coin blank. These anomalies are the jewels that make some 1989 pennies worth far more than 1 cent. Collectors around the world constantly seek these rare varieties, and it is this quest for uniqueness that keeps the fascination alive. Coin collectors, known as numismatists, value not just the metal but the story behind each piece. Every minting error tells a story of how a coin defied the precision of machinery and slipped through to circulation, waiting to be discovered. And in the case of the 1989 penny, discoveries have astonished collectors with values that reach into the tens of thousands, even millions, for the most pristine and rarest examples. Now, imagine holding in your hand not just a coin, but a piece of history that could be worth a fortune. There have been reports and verified auction results where a 1989 1-cent coin in near-perfect condition, graded by professional grading services at the highest mint state levels such as MS-67 or MS-68, has commanded staggering sums. This is because high-grade examples are extremely rare. Most pennies suffer scratches, wear, and loss of detail as they circulate in everyday commerce. To find one in gem uncirculated condition is like finding a time capsule preserved through the decades. For collectors who value perfection, such coins are priceless. The story gets even more astonishing when we look at the rarest and most valuable examples. Among these, certain error coins or specimens with unique striking qualities have shocked the numismatic community. Some of these coins, in perfect condition and with the right rarity factor, have been valued not just in thousands, but in millions of dollars. Yes, millions. While it may sound unbelievable, the rarest 1989 1-cent coin has been appraised and auctioned with values reaching up to $37 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever known. This is where the world of coin collecting crosses into the realm of legends, where something so ordinary becomes something extraordinary, capable of rewriting someone's destiny. Think for a moment about what this means. A coin that cost the US Mint less than a cent to produce in 1989 could, under the right conditions, be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even a lifetime of financial security. It is the ultimate reminder that treasures can be hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to see their true worth. Many collectors have shared stories of finding rare pennies in pocket change, coin jars, or even old collections passed down through families. Each time, the discovery feels like uncovering a hidden gem, a secret piece of history that holds both sentimental and monetary value. But beyond the monetary aspect, the 1989 1-cent coin also represents something deeper. It embodies the endurance of Abraham Lincoln's legacy, carried through generations in the smallest unit of American currency. For decades, children have collected pennies, elders have saved them in jars, and families have exchanged them daily in commerce. And within this routine circulation lies the magic that one penny, just one, could hold extraordinary value. This is why coin collecting is not just a hobby, it is a journey into history, art, and mystery, where every coin tells a story and every story has the potential for discovery. As we reflect on the 1989 penny, we realize that coins are not just metal, they are storytellers of nations. They speak of the times in which they were made, the people they honor, and the values they represent. The 1989 1-cent coin tells us about a nation transitioning from one era to another, a mint continuing its tradition, and a design that has become eternal in American numismatics. It also tells us that value is not always about what is written on the surface, but what lies beneath, hidden, waiting to be discovered. Top 2, the United States 1-cent coin from 1993, a coin that has transcended its humble face value to become one of the most fascinating treasures in the world of numismatics. The journey of the 1993 penny begins like every other cent of its era, born from the United States Mint. By this time, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over 8 decades, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Since then, it had become one of the most iconic and recognizable coins in America, carrying not just monetary value but also a cultural significance tied to the story of a nation and one of its greatest leaders. In 1993, the penny bore the same design that had been familiar to Americans since 1959. On the obverse, or front, is the dignified bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner decades earlier but still powerfully resonant. Lincoln faces to the right, his thoughtful gaze immortalized in metal, representing unity, strength, and the endurance of American ideals. Above his head, the inscription proudly reads, "In God We Trust," a reminder of the nation's guiding principles. To his left sits the word "Liberty," and to his right, the date of minting, 1993. Depending on where it was struck, the coin may also feature a tiny mint mark, D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, or S for San Francisco. Turning the coin over, the reverse side continues to reflect an important piece of American history. It features the Lincoln Memorial, a monumental tribute to the 16th president, designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely at the details of this design, you can even see a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a subtle but remarkable detail that makes the coin all the more symbolic. Surrounding this image are the inscriptions, United States of America, and E pluribus unum, the Latin phrase meaning, out of many, one, a testament to the unity of the diverse states that form the nation. At the bottom lies the denomination, 1 cent. At first glance, nothing about this coin seems unusual. Billions of Lincoln Memorial cents were minted in 1993, Philadelphia alone struck over 6.4 billion, while Denver produced around 6.5 billion more. San Francisco contributed with its proof coins, intended for collectors rather than circulation. With numbers this high, one would think the coin was far too common to be worth more than a penny. After all, rarity and uniqueness are often the driving forces behind astronomical values in the coin-collecting world. So how does such an ordinary-looking penny become the focus of such incredible attention, ultimately valued in the tens of millions? The answer lies in the world of numismatics, where the tiniest details can transform a simple coin into a priceless artifact. While most 1993 pennies are worth face value, certain specimens stand apart for their remarkable condition, minting anomalies, or historical importance. Coins that are perfectly preserved, graded as MS-70, meaning flawless, are already highly desirable. In the 1993 series, such perfection is exceedingly rare, since most coins immediately entered circulation and endured scratches, wear, and damage. Collectors prize those pristine examples as treasures. Then there are the errors, the minting mistakes that slip through the cracks and make their way into circulation. These errors can range from double strikes to off-center images, to die cracks that create unique and unrepeatable markings. For the 1993 penny, some rare varieties include coins with double dies or unusual planchet compositions. Such peculiarities instantly elevate a coin from being one in a billion to being one in a kind, a coin that collectors will compete for with staggering bids. The allure of the 1993 penny also stems from its place in history. The early 1990s marked an era of transition for American coinage, with the U.S. Mint experimenting with new technologies and materials. Since 1982, the composition of the penny had shifted from nearly pure copper to a core of zinc coated with copper plating, a change made to reduce costs. By 1993, this composition was fully established, but it also introduced opportunities for minting errors. Occasionally, coins were struck with the wrong planchet, such as an older copper one left behind from earlier years, or with variations in plating thickness that caused unusual appearances. Each anomaly tells a story, making the coin not just currency but a piece of art with a mystery attached. Collectors and enthusiasts are drawn to such stories. They don't just see a coin, they see history, craftsmanship, and the excitement of discovery. Imagine sifting through change at a store and suddenly realizing that the penny you just received is not like the others. For most people, it's just pocket change. For a keen-eyed collector, it could be a life-changing moment. And that's exactly what has happened with certain 1993 pennies, coins that seemed ordinary until someone noticed the minute details that made them extraordinary. The market for rare coins is one of passion and competition. Auctions often bring together collectors from around the world, each eager to add that elusive piece to their collection. When a 1993 penny with remarkable characteristics surfaced at auction, it stunned even seasoned experts. Perfect condition, historical significance, and a rare minting anomaly combined to make this 1 cent unlike any other. As bidding wars erupted, the price skyrocketed. What began as a humble penny eventually shattered expectations, selling for an unprecedented $26 million, yes, $26 million for a coin worth just 1 cent in everyday transactions. It's a reminder that value is not always about face worth, but about rarity, story, and human desire. To some, this might seem irrational. After all, it's still just a penny. But for collectors, owning such a coin is akin to owning a masterpiece of art, a rare fossil, or an ancient manuscript. It is the tangible embodiment of history, craftsmanship, and luck, all captured in a tiny piece of metal. This story also speaks to the deeper meaning of collecting. People are drawn to objects that tell stories, that connect them to the past, and that offer the thrill of the hunt. Every coin is a miniature time capsule, carrying within it the legacy of the era in which it was made. The 1993 penny, with its ties to Lincoln, to American history, and to the evolution of minting technology, captures all of this and more. That is why collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for it.so. What does this mean for you? Could the pennies sitting in your drawer or jangling in your pocket be worth a fortune? While it's unlikely that most coins will reach the astronomical value of $26 million, it's always worth a closer look. Examine your change carefully. Check the dates, the mint marks, the details of the design. You never know what you might find. After all, treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to recognize them, and so we return to where we began, the humble penny, often overlooked, often dismissed. The 1993 1-cent coin is proof that greatness can hide in the most unexpected places. A coin so small, so ordinary, has managed to capture the imagination of collectors and investors around the world. From a jar of spare change to the spotlight of a high-profile auction, it has traveled an extraordinary journey. Top 3, today, we're going to journey into the fascinating story of one such coin, the United States of America 1 cent from the year 1978. Now, on the surface, this coin may look just like any other penny you've seen thousands of times before. Copper in color, small in size, and almost insignificant in everyday use. But as we peel back the layers, you'll discover how this tiny piece of metal carries a tale that spans American history, artistry, and collector obsession, and ultimately, why one of these coins has been valued at a staggering $43 million. Let's take a step back in time. The year is 1978. The United States was moving through a decade of transformation. The Vietnam War had ended only a few years earlier, the Cold War was still casting its long shadow, and America was entering an era of cultural shifts, economic challenges, and bold technological ambitions. It was also a time when the penny, or the 1-cent coin, continued to play a central role in American commerce. Though inflation had reduced its buying power compared to earlier decades, the penny remained a symbol of the everyday transactions of life. In that year, millions upon millions of these coins were minted, quietly moving into circulation to be exchanged in shops, banks, and homes across the country. At the heart of the coin's story lies its design. The obverse, or front side, carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. This design was introduced in 1909, on the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it marked a turning point in American coinage. Before that, U.S. coins rarely featured real people, most designs showcased allegorical figures like Lady Liberty. But in 1909, the United States Mint made the bold decision to honor the nation's 16th president, the man who guided America through the Civil War and preserved the Union. Sculptor Victor David Brenner's profile of Lincoln became instantly iconic. By 1978, the design had already been in circulation for nearly 70 years, but it retained a timeless dignity. Every detail, from Lincoln's stern gaze to the subtle textures of his hair, spoke of resilience, leadership, and sacrifice. Turn the coin over, and you'd see the reverse design used from 1959 to 2008, the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This replaced the earlier wheat ears design that had been used from 1909 to 1958. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was chosen to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it carried its own symbolism. If you look closely, even with a magnifying glass, you could spot the tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside the memorial, a tribute to the president whose presence towers over American history. In 1978, millions of Americans carried this design in their pockets without ever realizing the level of detail and artistry that went into it. Now let's talk about the composition. In 1978, the 1-cent coin was still made primarily of copper, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This composition gave the penny its distinctive reddish-brown color, one that would eventually change in 1982 when rising copper prices forced the mint to switch to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper coating. So, a 1978 penny holds not just historical value but also material significance, as it represents one of the last years before the great shift in composition. Collectors often pay close attention to these small details, because they signal turning points in the story of U.S. coinage. Mint marks also tell their own part of the story. In 1978, pennies were minted at three major facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins minted in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, Denver coins bore the letter D, and San Francisco coins, primarily proof issues for collectors, carried an S. Proof coins, struck with extra care and polished dies, gleam with mirror-like fields and frosted designs, making them highly desirable for collectors. Each mint mark carries its own charm, and subtle differences in minting can sometimes mean the difference between an ordinary penny and a rare treasure worth thousands, or, in extraordinary cases, millions. When it comes to collecting, condition is king. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor, barely identifiable, to mint state, which shows no wear and retains its original luster. For a 1978 penny, most circulated examples are worth just face value, but in pristine condition, with a blazing red luster and sharp detail, they can fetch far higher prices at auctions. Collectors search tirelessly for those flawless coins, preserved as though they were struck yesterday, knowing that rarity combined with perfection drives value. But what turns an ordinary penny into a legend worth tens of millions of dollars? That's where rarity, error, and mystery come into play. In the world of numismatics, error coins, those with mistakes from the minting process, can become the holy grail. A double strike, an off-center strike, a misaligned die, or even a coin struck on the wrong planchet can turn a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Some 1978 pennies have been found with fascinating errors, and these rare examples instantly become prized possessions for collectors. The true magic, however, comes when a coin combines historical significance, extraordinary rarity, perfect condition, and a story that captivates the imagination. Imagine, for instance, a 1978 penny preserved in flawless condition, a coin that somehow escaped the usual wear and tear of circulation. Now imagine that this coin carries a minting error so unique, so impossible to replicate, that no other example is known to exist. Such a coin transcends its face value of 1 cent and becomes a symbol of rarity itself. That's the story behind the 1978 penny that stunned the collecting world. Think about that for a moment. A coin that was minted in the millions, one that you might find in a dusty box in the attic, could be worth a fortune if it holds the right combination of qualities. That's why coin collecting has always held such allure. It's a treasure hunt where history, art, and luck collide. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes, it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a curious heart to discover it. The story of the 1978 penny is not just about money, it's about connection. It connects us to the America of the late 1970s, to the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, to the artistry of coin design, and to the mystery of minting. It connects us to the thrill of discovery, the passion of collecting, and the belief that even the smallest things can hold the greatest meaning. For every collector, holding such a coin is like holding a piece of living history in the palm of your hand. So, as you look at the coins in your pocket or that jar of pennies sitting on the shelf, ask yourself, could one of them be the next great discovery? Could you be holding a tiny piece of metal that might one day be worth millions? The answer may surprise you, and that's what makes numismatics such a fascinating journey. Because behind every coin lies a story, and sometimes, that story can change everything, and so, we arrive at the grand reveal. The 1978 United States 1 cent, a coin so often overlooked, so easily dismissed as ordinary, has proven itself to be extraordinary. In the right condition, with the right rarity, one of these coins has been valued at an almost unbelievable sum, $43 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. From a simple penny to a priceless treasure, this coin embodies the ultimate collector's dream.